of June 2022, and I'm glad that you're joining us this morning all the way from the deepest recesses of River Limpopo to the rough, jagged edges of Sinai Peninsula to the peak of Mount Kenya. This is Morning Prime and your bang on time for Standpoint. My name is Dibala Nair, and we have a lot lined up for you today to just take a critical analysis of the week that has been as far as politics is concerned, looking at the landscape that is ever changing. And we have a panelist already here with us this morning. We'll be joined momentarily by Wilson Sosion, who is a nominated Member of Parliament. Also, we have Women Rep of Uasin Gishu County. This is Gladys Boss Shulei. And we'll be joined also by Kongo Mogini, who is a Senator of Nyamira as well. And we are looking forward to be joined as well by Peter Kaluma, who is a Homa Bay Member of Parliament, that is Homa Bay Town. So there is critical issues that are being put on the table. Fake degrees, allegations also of forgery are coming to the fore. Remember, this is a pivotal week, especially for Tribunal. On Wednesday, we'll be having that particular decision, which will be made. The fate of Sakaja will be known, whether he will go full steam ahead to be the gubernatorial, of course, contestant of Nairobi County or not, because of his dubious degree. So that will be established today. He has until noon today to actually file his evidence with IBC today. So today will be a landmark, of course, decision that will be made by IBC, and then later that will be confirmed by the tribunal on Wednesday. So we're looking forward to know what will happen on that particular front. Will it be a shoe-in for Igathe, Polycarp Igathe, who is also running under the Jubilee ticket? The IBC and election ready? Questions are coming to the fore as Mio has written to IBC with a raft of questions that they want answered. We shall also be putting that on the table. We have the Chief Justice, who's now saying that Uhuru should be impeached because he has not fulfilled the constitutional duty. I'll just give you more of that much later in the course of the program. But also she insists that, you know, the queries that were there in 2017 from the Supreme Court judgment, IBC has not really passed muster, has not really fulfilled that. So we'll be putting that on the table as well with our panelists this morning. We have a lot lined up for you, and I'm glad that you're joining us. Let us just put this horse into full run by looking at the dailies, what is headlining the front pages of the dailies this morning. We begin with the bold paper, and this is what you're waking up to, the front page of the Standard. Sakaja, degree, fake or deal? This is what is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Despite getting clearance, 4 cases have been filed to challenge Johnson Sakaja's nomination for governorship. And if any succeeds, he could be knocked off. He could be knocked off ballot, leaving Kenya Kwanza clutching on hope that IBC allows replacement. Despite getting clearance, 4 cases have been filed to challenge Johnson Sakaja's nomination for governorship, and if any succeeds, he could be knocked off the ballot, leaving Kenya Kwanza clutching on hope that IBC allows replacement. And we'll see, is that viable, allowing for replacement? That is well tucked away on page 8 of the Standard this morning. Expect only digital registers at polling stations, IBC tells Raila. Now, in response to Azimio leader Raila Odinga's 10 demands, IBC boss Wafula Chebukati says only electronic register will be used on election day. A deviation from the past where hard copies were mandatory. That story will laid out for you on page 6 of the Daily Nation. Their questions, let's just go through one by one what they're asking. These are the questions that have been expressed in that letter. Is electronic transmission of results tamper-proof? Will there be hard copies of voter register at polling stations? Has the integrity of the register been upheld? What is the outcome of audit of voters' register? What are the alternative transmission plans for areas without 3G, 4G? Will returning officers' names be shared with political parties? In the farm printing ballots, is the farm printing ballot papers competent? As the IBC irregularly delegated some roles to some Smartmatic BV holdings. What has the Commission done to address technology capacity? What has the Commission done to address costs of 2017 as flagged up by the Supreme Court? And this is the question also the CJ was asking. All right, we have answers from Chebukati. One, he says, Results will be electronically submitted from polling stations to, let me try and just to zoom out a bit, to national tallying centers and constituency tallying centers simultaneously via secure network. No more hard copies of registers in polling stations, only digital register will be available and all voters will be identified electronically. Now, IBC is taking corrective action on illegal transfers of voters, including implementing recommendation of KPMG audit. Cases of illegal transfers are not as many as claimed. Commission to receive final KPMG audit report on June the 16th and engage stakeholders on June the 17th. Commission will deploy satellite modems in 1,111 centers subject to availability of funds. Sharing of names of returning officers with political parties is no longer necessary since they are now permanent officers. Info Lycos, that is from South Africa, has the capacity to deliver without subcontracting information that is delayed. Nigerian election unfounded. Also, Commission only share technical specification to the bidder. BVR data has been migrated from previous company, that is Idemia, which moved into OT Morpho, and now Smartmatic is the one which has garnered this particular contract. Also, Kim's Kit info, that is from the register, to be locked out to specific polling stations via QR code specific to them. The Commission is auditing its technology. Also, Commission drafted legal reforms and submitted them to Parliament, embarked on institutional reforms for all its directors or for all its directorates and increase its stakeholders' engagement. Well, those are questions and answers there from Raila's camp and Chebukati answering them. Expect only digital register at polling stations, IBC tells Raila. What happens to the Green Book? So in case of a system failure, is there any backup? Well, they're well placed to answer that. You can grab a copy of the Standard today for that. Also looking at the sidebar, watch out, 12 million children have access to porn. Parents, you should be aware of this. We should just go back there to the paper. And it says, report by State Department for Social Protection shows most children access pornography through their parents' and friends' mobile phones, as well as school computers. The story is on page 13 of the Standard this morning. Remember, Communications Authority is very strict on this as well, in terms of trying to fireproof this in our systems as well. Even in school, there should be no laxity. So if there are leakages on this and how they're accessing it, that should be questioned, especially the schools that have been flagged out on this. This should be answerable to the parents. This is tucked on page 13 of the Standard this morning. Also, schools calls men for heart-to-heart talk with daughters. Teachers applying new strategy to get men involved in their teenage children's lives and get wayward girls to open up more as schools get swamped with teenage pregnancies and increased cases of drug abuse. It's a niggling worry there. You can follow the story on page 3 of the Standard this morning. Let's see what we have on top here. Day Ruto wanted to call it quits. New book reveals. This is a story there of William Ruto, narrated by Babior Newton. You can follow that particular story on page 8 of the Standard this morning. And CS Musharu denies role in ICT bill. This is on page 26 of the Standard this morning. Paul Barton grounds today is focusing on KSS. That is a KSS race where we have 67,136 registered voters, 148,793 voters. That is a population as per 2019 consensus. That is a population, and this is the registered voters there. That is 67,136. You can read the story on page 24 of the Standard this morning. And a toss there to Tuskers League win. Page 40 of the Standard is holding that particular story. This is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy of the Standard. And just to prime you as well, we have Health and Science Pull-Out magazine inside the Standard today. You can head over there to www.standardmedia.co.ke, where you can actually also have premium content. You can scan your QR code and get all the details there. The patient candidate. Politicians are suffering. Politicians suffer election stress disorder, clinical depression, insomnia, suicidal tendencies. This is on page 4 and 5 of the Standard this morning. So it really takes a toll on them as well, as far as, you know, being subjected to depression, right? It's like the post-performance depression after you from the stage there, you know, the high-octane political environment they're subjected in. How then do they, of course, really pass muster that when they have been denied their nomination tickets, when they feel like inter-party democracy has not been shaken into place fairly, and they've actually spent a tidy sum of money, you know, eye-popping figures, 25 million, 30 million on campaign trails just going down the tubes as well. I mean, that must be very depressing for them as well. So how do they really get through that particular phase? They need some psychosocial support as well, but is that really also given to them, right? That is a probing question. You can pull out that magazine Inside the Standard today for those details. All right, let's buckle down and see what the Daily Nation is holding for us this morning. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Daily Nation. And it's all about fetching the Daily Nation quickly. Uhuru and his foes as well. Politics may turn out to be a bruising battle. Sometimes your enemy or your friend turn out to be a foe. This is what is holding on the front page of the Daily Nation. It's holding this particular splash for you. Uhuru allies bitter foes is the subject today. Loyalty test. Kenyatta's endorsement of Odinga over Ruto has cost him several key allies, raising the question of whether they are disloyal or simply fulfilling his unwritten promise to back the DP at the end of his final term. You have this story on page 7 of the Daily Nation today, and you can see some of the friends and foes there. The faces are spread there on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Uhuru allies to bitter foes. Also, Embu's Robin Hood, murdered businessman, led a double life. Read all about him on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Reliever's neck pays exam officials 684 million shillings. Agency clears all allowances of over 80,000 staff. That is on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. Chebukati responds to Raila's queries on August election. And we've just read there for you on the front page of the Standard all the gritty details of that as well. But this is tucked away on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. The degree saga goes on. Sakaja given until noon today to file evidence. IBC Dispute Resolution Committee grants plea by Mr. Sakaja's lawyer, Mr. Adrian Kamodo, to be given more time to respond to the petitions. You have that story tucked away on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Kenya misses COVID vaccination target. Kenya is still far from attaining the World Health Organization vaccination target of 70% of the population by mid this year. The Health Ministry says vaccine apathy is to blame for the low numbers. That is tucked away on page or the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. And regarding also the rise in cases of COVID-19, the Ministry of Health has made its pronouncement that is not going to subject us again to protocols, but we just need to take care of ourselves, despite the fact that this number or that particular infection rate is rising exponentially. That is the Daily Nation for you this morning. Let's see what we have on the front page of the People Daily and the Star as well. In the meantime, I would like to introduce my guest who are already here in studio with me, Wilson Sossion, who is a nominated Member of Parliament. Also, we have Senator Kongo Mugini, who is the Senator of Nyamira, Senate Council as well, and momentarily be joined by Gladys Bostrole, who is a women rep, Western Gishu County. Right, good morning. Let me just get introductory remarks from Wilson Sossion. Good to see you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Diba.
Yes.
Yes.
You've been following the development, seeing the dailies, what is happening right now. You from the academia side, degree. Why would it be so difficult to actually produce a paper if it is genuine or not, that we have to be toying and froing for weeks, especially on the case of Sakaja?
That also tells us, without even going to individuals and naming names,
yes,
that tells us about our governance system in ensuring that there is due diligence in terms of documentations of individuals and ensuring that we meet the minimum standards. And this is one of the highest level of intellectual dishonesty in this country, and in fact a mockery to education by allowing characters who have got questionable academic credentials to occupy offices that they don't qualify for. This is not the first such similar cases that we are hearing. We've had them in every electoral cycle, and that is why we are getting crooks. When Matiang'i the other day said, we might have 40% of conmen engaged in illicit businesses getting elected to parliament.
Yes.
This is one route. We must set very stringent rules. Once the law and the constitution gives clarity about minimum qualifications, so be it. Because we must present, the IEBC and the political parties must present the correct candidates to the voters of Kenya, so that voters of Kenya can elect leaders who meet the necessary minimum qualifications and have the right academic credentials. And we must celebrate education. We celebrate education by electing the best, those who've done well and those who have graduated. And that is what leadership is all about. It's what other jurisdictions are doing. And as Kenya, a country that boasts of having one of the strongest education systems, we cannot have thugs and individuals and characters who have questionable academic backgrounds and they have attended dubious, non-existent universities, or producing fake papers to defeat the cause of IEBC. So I believe very strongly that we must protect the integrity of our education system, and in an election process like this one, it's a moment for every institution and every structure, and the voters of Kenya, and the people of Kenya, to reward education. Those who have worked hard should be allowed to take up leadership.
All right, but you say this, and we wonder, before it reaches to IBC, this should be also the collective effort of your party, UDA, because we're talking about Sakaja here and from other parties as well. But from the party, just a moment, from the party level, you should have done your due diligence before it heads now to, the upper reaches of government or agencies like the IBC or even the EACC at the end of the day. So there's a lapse, not only just from the agency, but from your party. You don't have that particular rigor and effort to try and make sure that what is presented to you also is verified.
You know, Dipal, you are talking about individuals, but I'm talking about the general provision and general requirement. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm saying it is the responsibility of all institutions, including political parties,
yes,
to ensure that there is due diligence. And therefore, IEBC coming out to enforce, and even members of the public coming out to raise questions on individuals is okay. This is part of enforcement of due diligence. So really, I'm calling out on all institutions that bear responsibility without naming names of individuals. I'm not here to name names or to discuss individuals, but on this particular matter, the provisions of the law must be safeguarded.
Thank you.
And the right individuals with the correct qualifications must be approved. And those who have been questioned, others are raising malicious questions on individuals. Let them prove themselves, because they have the opportunity to do so. Yeah, and that is what we call fair administration of justice. Allow people to be heard. So let those processes go on to the very conclusive end.
Okay, introductory remarks.
Yes, morning, Deval.
Morning to you. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's now less than 60 days to elections. And
I wonder how you normally feel. Is it like when we were preparing for exams in schools, and you have all those heebie-jeebies, You know, the jitters as well.
Yeah, you know, in
the
politics,
politics.
they will always tell you it's not over till it's over. So it goes all the way to the wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good to see my nominated member of parliament. You know, it's us who nominated Sosion from ODM.
Yes.
Now, Dibal, you know, I don't know, this headline, I think these are headlines you can only see in a country called Kenya. You know, we have a headline
yes.
that is discussing the academic qualifications of a senator serving, you know, somebody who is serving as a member of parliament. You know, this goes in a long way to tell us how our ethos, you know, our cultural orientation, our moral behavior as a country has really decayed. Because ordinarily, Dibal, my word should be a blank check, you know, something I can tell Kenyans that I'm an honorable member of parliament. If I tell you I have a degree, nobody should even question. I mean, that's how a country that has good ethos, that has good morals, behaves. In fact, somebody told me in countries like Germany, you don't even question whether your employee came to work late or not, because if he comes too late, he will start by registering and apologizing. That's how the culture of Germans is. That's how their orientation is. But in this country, Dibal, we are even doubting, and we are spending a lot of time, including going to a tribunal. Maybe this matter will go all the way to the High Court, just to determine whether a senator who has served as a member of National Assembly for 5 years, who has served as a senator, to make a determination whether he has a degree. I mean, the message we are sending is that society, our own society, does not trust even what honorable members of parliament are saying. We have reached a level where we are even exposing ourselves to the outside world, that we can go to the extent. I'm not saying Sakaja has been found guilty, but what is coming out is that we are sending a message to the outside world that you should even question. If a Kenyan is telling you he has a degree qualification, you need to go deep and do an investigation whether that person has a degree. I mean, just look at that moral decay of our society. What do we expect of our children in school if we are faking our degrees? Then what are you expecting to see in the examination room? I mean, what else are you going to see from people who are seeking for jobs in offices? People are going to start faking qualifications, coming in and filling employment applications, putting fake qualifications. I think this goes in a long way in portraying Kenya as a society that is morally very corrupt. I mean, this is the lowest that we can go as a country. We have morally decayed, and I don't know what else we can tell the outside world. I'm praying that this headline maybe can be reversed later on, and we see something saying Sakaja's degree is real. Otherwise, if it turns out to be fake, it will be a disaster. I mean, Dibal, really, that, you know, these are people that our children look up to. When you're talking about, you know, somebody who has served as a senator, somebody who is vying for gubernatorial position in Nairobi, somebody who is a youth, this is somebody that should, you know, be influencing a lot of young people in this country. So if it turns out that somebody the youths have been looking up to maybe tries to fake his academic qualification, that will be a disaster. I'm really praying that my good friend Sakaja has not tried to lie. I hope he has this degree, and this is not just him. There are a number of people who have also found themselves in this situation before, including our good friend Governor Sonko. We have had this kind of queries. I really hope that we can change our society to a level where, Dibali, if I tell you something, you can believe what I'm telling you. You know, but you find even you can call somebody in Nairobi, he tells you, oh, I'm not in Nairobi, I'm in Mombasa. That's you know, that's where our society has
issues to do with the values, at the end of the day.
Yeah, we tell lies with our teeth wide open, and we don't feel anything about it. That's bad. And I think, Dibal, this is what really has messed up our society. This kind of you know, lack of integrity, lack of good ethical, moral standards is what messes the country. When a policeman stops you on the road and he wants to extort money from you, he will tell you anything.
Thank you.
He will tell the matatu guy the tires are worn out. So this culture, what you are seeing as headlines today is what is permitting in many sectors of our society. And if you want to fight corruption, that's why you have a body in Kenya. You know what's the name of the ethics and corruption commission.
Okay, but the question that I wanted to ask, because we have the Kenyan National Qualification Authority, and I think they they're within the remit to make sure that these academic papers that we do have, the degrees, the diplomas, the certificates, they actually verify. And it was supposed to be part of this system with the ESCC, IBC, but I don't know what really happened in Parliament, that they had to retreat and not to be part of this exercise of verifying some of his papers. Don't you think that was the right authority to do this? And if at all these papers were subjected to Dr. Juma, who is the Director General of Kenya National Qualification Authority, then we'll not be having these problems. Why did we particularly lock out the Kenya National Qualification Authority?
I don't know, Dibal, I thought what's happening is that anybody with a degree qualification from a foreign country goes to Commission on University Education for verification. And what they do is first to cross-check and see whether that particular university has accreditation in the country of origin. Like I think for Sakaja, what Commission on University Education will do is to confirm whether the university in Uganda is accredited to offer degree education. I don't know, I don't think they go to the details of wanting to establish whether Sakaja was a student at that particular university. I think that's what they do, is basically to confirm that that university exists, it has got accreditation, and then there could be an acknowledgement in our own country that that particular university can offer degree education that is recognized in our own country. But I think maybe
I think in terms of presenting school documents.
But I'm just looking at this, if my director may just speak up. This is now the Kenya National Qualification Authority. We even have report cases of certificate forgery there, you can see, if you go there. What is the mandate of the Kenya National Qualification Authority? So if at all there was an issue to do with the forgery and questionable certificates, this was the place to be. And this is the mandate, which is the authority has developed and is now implementing. Let's just begin here. The Kenya National Qualification Authority was set up in 2015 to help coordinate and harmonize education, training, assessment, and quality assurance of all qualifications awarded in the country, with a view to improving quality and international comparability. The Kenya National Qualifications Authority, which the authority has developed, or KNFK, which the authority has developed and is now implementing, is part of Kenya's international commitment to develop an accurate, reliable, and robust database of all qualifications in the country that will allow for comparability and information sharing in the education sector globally. Ideally, this would have been the authority to do this. So all these people who have been subjecting, of course, or presenting their certificates, it shouldn't have gone to ESCC or IBC. It should have been this authority, which is mandated, or in liaison with this authority.
Dibal, I'm sure you've been through schools and you've gone through interviews in various institutions, and what would always be required is that you need certified copies of your degree certificates or transcripts or school certificates, so that fundamentally if you are graduated by the University of Nairobi, the certification of that degree is the University of Nairobi. So you will need certified copies. It must be certified by the institution that actually issued.
But I want you to answer the question of what I've asked you of the Kenya National Qualification Authority.
You brought in the role of the Kenya National Qualification Framework. no problem. It can be an additional institution to help us verify and put in place systems to weed out this type of groups. We've seen even Kenya National Examinations Council, they are changing the format of the certificates so that it is not possible to forge. And even universities, very many characters in this country have got unscrupulous documents printed and from River Road, and they've been used actually to acquire jobs. If we are to get down and audit the entire public service and the employment sector in this country, some individuals may have falsified documents or used documents of other citizens. And this is one aspect that needs to be corrected. It may not be done in a day, but it has to be done so that we weed out these characters. But as to the role of Kenya National Qualification Framework, yes, this is one body that has to deal with. But for the purpose of this election, what was required to be submitted are certified copies. And if a candidate, an aspirant presented documents that are certified to a political party and to IEBC, and maybe that's how it's taken. But unless, of course, we have seen complaints have been raised, and such matters are being adjudicated for those particular complaints, and I think this is the right thing that is happening. When a red flag is raised, it's important you take action and do due diligence and confirm those particular qualifications. I think this discussion that we are getting in the country, that people are questioning which school did you attend. We've had some people saying, oh, I attended this particular school, but we've seen the principals of those schools come out and stated the right position. So it's not only Kenya National Qualification Framework. If you claim that you attended Kakamega Primary School, DEP, Dibal, and you did not, would expect the current head teacher of that school, because data of all students right from the inception of an institution must be kept. And this is where we agree. We need to build the highest standard of ethos in this country. And the enforcement systems, institutions, is actually every institution. It's not only limited to KNQA. And IEBC is one such institution that it has to now enforce and interrogate. And the IEBC should be able to get to any university outside Kenya. If you get a qualification from a university outside Kenya, it must be equated when in the country.
So we're only hoping.
So really, we have no issue here. It's a matter of the very legitimate institution, like this one, is the IBC to do it and to check with the universities that are mentioned whether those particular aspirants have graduated, they're in the graduation list.
Thank you.
Because the graduation list of 1900 of Harvard University is still available, and it will be available. So I see no problem here. I'm seeing its progress, but I think it is time we stamp out dishonesty in this country in terms of qualification.
So moving forward, because I think we also just prevaricating around the issue itself. Can we move forward and ask the question, what really happens? Because if they will meet on Wednesday and, you know, the death knell is sounded for Sakaja to run for this particular seat because of his qualification, will IBC have a wiggle room to provide a replacement? Is there a likely scenario like that, Senior Counsel?
Yeah, I think first to set the record straight, the right body that does the recognition and equation of degrees is the Commission on University Education. That is the law under the Universities Act. Section 5 of the University.
Where is the placement of the Kenya National Qualification Authority?
The body that deals with the issues of recognition and
that we agree, but
equation accreditation is Q. And what they do first is to see if they recognize that university and if that university has got accreditation in our own country, so that there is mutual reciprocation. And what you do, Dibal, is you take your originals to Q. Anybody who has contested the gubernatorial seat and you qualified outside the country, you take your originals to Q, and they are the ones who go through it and see whether the university you mentioned exists, whether it's recognized, and then they will give you a letter confirming that these universities are accredited and recognized in our country. And I'm sure as evidence comes out in court, the truth will be able to come out. In terms of what happens, Debal, I think the tribunals that are handling this matter can give an order directing IBC to accept another nominee from the party that has maybe had a candidate disqualified. That's why you remember when we were passing amendments to the Political Parties Act and the Elections Act, we created tribunals across the country to hear disputes emanating from nominations, so that these disputes can be heard within the shortest time possible, so that you're not caught up with time. Because if the disputes concluded at the time that IBC has already awarded tenders and ballots have been printed, then you'll be locked out. But between now and Wednesday, I think the tribunals can give an order directing IBC to accept late nominations. If there is no directive, then we can have a situation where a party is told that's your own making,
it's your undoing.
It's you to blame, and you not have a candidate in Nairobi Ganabateri.
So there's a window of opportunity, this is upon the discretion of IBC.
No, it's actually the tribunal that should direct, because IBC could tell you, look, as we gave you enough time to sort yourselves out, you knew the qualifications for people vying for gubernatorial seat, you didn't give us candidate who qualifies, and we already closed the window. But if there is a directive from either the tribunal or from a high court, I'm sure that IBC will accept that order and give room to the party to nominate a candidate. Now the next question is whether there is a time for a candidate to conduct a fair nomination process, give an opportunity to all the interested candidates.
Because the law does not really work retrogressively.
Yes. So there's a problem there.
So there's actually a big problem.
Yeah, there's a big problem, because there could be many UDA candidates interested. When are you going to convene, a date for them to go through primaries? You pick a candidate, allow again if there is any dispute for people to go and challenge it. Really, we have 56 days, I think, to the elections. And we need to give ample time to IBC to print the ballots. So we really don't have time.
There is no time. We're really pinched for time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to wait until Wednesdays, and today noon is when Sakaja has that window of opportunity of redeeming himself by presenting that particular evidence that he actually has a degree or not. And then the tribunal will decide on Wednesday on his fate. And given to what we are hearing from our senior counsel, that this is the discretion of the tribunal, if they will give a window of opportunity for them to present another candidate. But the technicality is, then how do you apply that? Will you go back retrogressively to go through the nomination process, as it were, because that one also is bound by law, looking at the Election Act as it is right now. So looking at that will be such a cul-de-sac, or batting their heads on the wall. But let's wait to hear from the tribunal what the judgment will be on the fate of Sakaja. And this applies to many, of course, who have dubious degrees as well. And that's why we're questioning also the role of the CUE on this, why they were not really dropped on this. Also, the Kenya National Qualification Authority, we want to seek out to know exactly how limpid and clear is a place of Kenya National Qualification Authority in the entire process, because we were given to understand from the beginning they were to be part of it. Then we got a press conference also from the organization that they have retracted and will not participate in the electioneering process. Let's move on, steam ahead, and we see there's a new poll, and this is from the Star. And I want just our guest to pick up on this as well, and also comment on that, so that we can see who is leading. And there we've known that other camps are not really happy with what the pollsters are saying, but this is what is on the front page of the Star this morning. I don't know what's happening to Gladys Bose-Chalet this morning. She's normally very punctual, but maybe she has slept through her alarm this morning. I'll try and call and find out, hey, maybe just to wake her up, I don't know, so that we can continue pace with the conversation. There's also a very important issue that we wanted to raise with her, especially with the Women Charter that was launched on Friday at Nyayo National Stadium. Now, the Star is holding this flash for us. Raila moves into clear lead over William Ruto. And this is round one. Polls shows Odinga could surpass simple majority with 51.5%. Karua Picks seems to have helped Raila, while Rigathi does not seem to have boosted Ruto at all. And this is well tucked away on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. If elections were held today, Raila Odinga will garner 44.6% and William Ruto 38.9%. This is from the Radio Africa poll. I presume I can just flip over there to page 4 and 5 of the Star. You have the Star with you guys. You can actually just pick up. I got all of it here. Let me just distribute this. The Star. Okongo Mogeni, you can give it to Wilson Sosion as well. Put one on the table as we wait for Gladys to join us on this. There have been questions on the polls, and Wilson Sosion, your camp has been on this particular poll saying these polls are questionable. We have Deputy President who's reiterated that these polls cannot be, they're not credible, and so they cannot be trusted at the end of the day. And people have been asking, hey, when we had these polls showing that you're on the lead, you're silent and mealy-mouthed about it. So what is really happening right now that you're not on the lead and now you're questioning the credibility of the polls? So what do you have to say about this particular poll here?
Yes.
If elections were held today,
indeed, I'm not
44.6% and William Ruto 38.9%, will you concede defeat?
Yeah.
I am not here. I'm not contesting, by the way. That's one thing you should not evaluate.
I know that.
Number two, I am not here to rubber stamp opinions of other institutions. I do not know how they collected the data. I do not have the tools to test their reliability and validity. But I know we are in a political season. And opinion polls do not really mean much. What is important is what Kenyans will do on that particular day in voting. So I do not want us to sway the thinking of Kenyans, the judgment of Kenyans, to look like a decision has already been made, so we should keep off and forget about it. That is what some of these messages seems to be coming through. The pollsters in this country should be able to give us the correct projection and give us how they've carried out this particular data and studies. Because in the past elections, what has been projected by the pollsters is directly the opposite of the outcome in the ballot box. That has been tested over time. And I think at this stage, let us allow the presidential candidates and the political parties to sell themselves to the people of Kenya. I think this is a moment of selling. We are only 1 week into official election campaign period. We still have another 56 days to go. So I think it's premature at this stage. We've not seen the manifestos of all the groups. Even the Wachakoya who's coming out excitedly out there and exciting voters. He has not had his time to sell himself. And so therefore, tinkering with the minds of Kenyans by way of opinion polls is not the right thing at the moment. And I don't think it's anything I would just buy as a voter, and I would not encourage. Yes, we are free to listen, but that doesn't determine anything. That doesn't give any way, any due advantage to anybody in the race. And as you can see, it looks like the figures are closed. Then tomorrow, the next day, you'll hear Joe Mucheru speaking on behalf of government that the figures are now at 64 from 60. I've never had government giving also opinion polls. It really doesn't. What we are watching is very interesting and very strange. Yet the debate that are going on among Kenyans is one of the best. We want to promote issue-based campaigns. Let us let the discussions prevail. Let the political parties campaign. Let the presidential candidates sell their issues. And I think this is one election where issues are right at the center, and as we discussed at the time, the issue of manifestos is a key issue at the moment. We have seen one side has released its own manifesto, other sides have not, and are working on it, and we'll be able to get all the data of what they have and what they're giving to Kenyans. What is it that is there for Kenyans in this election? I think that's a big question. And then the decision is on the 9th of August. And once the results are released and transmitted, so be it. So whoever will be elected will be the president of Kenya. We are not going to.
Are you in any way also okay? Certainly, are you saying that we should not be trusting these particular polls, even if we're heading towards
personally,
election?
I don't trust.
They don't really move any of the needle or jot to whatever direction. If it's Raila increasing in percentages or Ruto for that particular matter, we should not really rely on them.
We shouldn't. We shouldn't. The ultimate decision lies with Kenyans, and I'm saying so because in the last elections, 2013 and 2017,
don't you think those were very projected in informing decisions at the end of the day?
What was projected was not reflected in the final election.
Okay.
What Kenyans came to do on the ballot box was completely opposite.
Let's hear from you as well. Raila moves into clear lead over William Ruto, so it is not really neck and neck. That particular chasm is getting wider and wider, according to them. What will be your assessment?
Of course, I can see my friend here, my very good friend, is in denial. He doesn't want to accept. He doesn't want to accept what is clear, what is scientifically presented by the Star. But Dibal, if you have been following the Kenyan electoral process, even the way parties have conducted primaries, including UDA, there has been a lot of reliance on opinion polls in this particular election. Even UDA, in making a decision on settling on Sakaja, they relied on opinion polls. And these opinion polls that were run by professional bodies like IPSO and the likes. And I think before we even had these opinion polls by the Star, I think last week we had, if I'm not wrong, another Infotrack,
yes.
Yeah, releasing an opinion poll on presidential elections, and I think it placed Raila ahead. And if you read through, including if my friend here, Sosion, can read the Star, page 4 and 5, they are trying to make an assessment and this, arriving at what may have impacted on the change, on the fortunes of Raila and the dwindling fortunes of William Ruto. And if you see through, they are saying that Raila got it right by picking Mother Karua, who seems to have excited a number of Kenyans and who seems to have brought a lot of energy to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. On the other hand, the assessment by the Star is that the picking of Rigathi Gachagua seemed not to have boosted the chances of William Ruto. So even in terms of how we picked our running mate, somebody may have gotten it right and somebody may have gotten it wrong. In this case, Raila got it right, William Ruto did not get it right. I think they have actually said those the gods want to destroy, they first make mad. Nobody understands how William Ruto ended up picking Rigathi Gachagua. And even when you look at the regions, Dibal, you can see like in Lower Eastern, just by picking Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga's lead has surged to 54%. So again, in terms of looking at the totality of the Kenyan political landscape, you can see that there is value in Kalonzo Musyoka coming on board to join Raila Odinga. He has brought that support base of Lower Eastern to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, and that has boosted the numbers for Raila Odinga in Lower Eastern. If you look at Western, I think the team that he has under Oparanya, you can see in Western is at 44.6%. His base in Nyanza is at 66.8%. And then there's a significant change in Central. It seems that just by Karua coming on board, Raila is climbing steadily. He's cut William Ruto's lead in Central down to 49%. and his lead is now at 29.0%. So if you want to be realistic and stop living in denial, you can see that the crafting of the team by Raila Odinga, by bringing on board Martha Karua, bringing on board Kalonzo, bring on board people like Oparanya, that has really helped to galvanize support from regions where he is now clearly taking a very good lead. And I think if I was in UDA, I will tell them to accept the reality, go back to the drawing board, and look at the people who are pushing forward Ruto's campaign, and those who are perceived to be the ones surrounding him. I think it's just tactical errors that the leading presidential candidates may have committed in picking people who are their appointment from particular regions. For me, I think this portrays a scientific, research. When you look at the distribution of the support in coast, Raila is at 49.2%.
32.4% for William Ruto at the coast?
Yeah, at the coast. I think this is the realistic position on the ground. If you go to the ground... So
do you think also the entry of Kalonzo Musyoka has boosted this? We have Lower Eastern...
You can see there,
and it's on the Northern Eastern as well.
Yeah.
But look at the Northeastern. We have William Ruto, who is at 45.7%. Raila is tailing at 39.2%.
Yeah, because
again, what really informs this?
I think there has been a number of sort of, for better of a luck word, there's been a lot of propaganda against Raila in Northeastern, issues surrounding the issue of revenue. That issue of one man, one shilling. Remember, there has been propaganda from William Ruto's side that Raila Odinga does not support more resources being given to the northeastern Kenya. So I think what we need to do as Azimio La Umoja is to go and demystify that myth and the propaganda that has been channeled towards the northeastern Kenya constituents and region, and assure them that we really support them. And what? That revenue sharing process actually never took any coin away from them.
Yeah.
And you can see the law that we passed is in place for the next 5 years. So northern Kenya will not lose money for the next 5 years because we passed a law that sealed any attempt by any future president or any future senate from reducing allocations from northeastern. So we need to go to northeastern and debunk the myth, being propagated by William Ruto that under Raila presidency they are going to lose money.
Yeah, you got a good sum of work to do because also Upper Eastern, we can see Raila is tailing at 34.5%, William Ruto at 54.1%.
Yeah, that's around Meru, that's Upper Eastern, that's around Meru, Embu region, that's the Embu, Meru region. I think realistically I may agree that William Ruto is still ahead. So I think when we sit down to analyze the situation, the way it's looking in the country, we will not give the answers I'm hearing from Sosion that this thing is
so if we look at that, then
we need to intensify.
We can say the choice of Martha Karua has made a discernible difference, but still also in Mount Kenya region, he's still holding it is a stronghold for William Ruto as it is.
But look at the numbers. What's that 29.0?
Sorry, just a moment. Were you saying what numbers there?
We have climbed, Central. Believe you me, we have now climbed to 29.0. So it's climbing.
29.0, where is it?
It's the second column there. Ruto is
Central, yes, 29.
His Ruto's lead used to be at 60s. It's been cut down significantly to 49.4.
49.4, that is...
and we are at 29. That's just on about 19.
I think, Dibal, you don't over-entertain the exaggerated feelings of Brother Omogeni, particularly on these particular figures. It's not right to massage situations so that you justify that because so-and-so has been picked, so the figures have changed. That's not very scientific. How did you arrive at that? How did you collect this data? How reliable are they? What is the validity? Can it pass the validity test? That's what I'm asking. Because these are issues of research. And I looked at this within 24 hours of appointment of running mates, some research firm looked like they had collected data and already those particular findings. Let me tell you, in Kenya, this opinion polls is more massaging figures than doing the real scientific research analysis. And I've said, my brother Mugeni, in 2017, what was presented by the pollsters is the opposite of the outcome, was the opposite of the outcome in the election. The same case in 2013. That means it has, these pollsters and opinion polls in the last two elections have never guided Kenyans correctly. And if we can look at what is happening, even on the ground, particularly if you go to Central, the picking of Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua, Martha has created no impact at all. That's a fact on the ground. And the data has indicated that even with the picking of Gachagua, and the candidature of William Ruto remains very strong in Central. So let us not reduce this issue to that of running mates. The contestants here are purely Raila Odinga and William Ruto, and nothing much has changed. And the phase where we are getting to is real unveiling of manifestos. Of course, we saw Kalonzo come back, and even with Kalonzo coming back, if we are to take those figures of Lower Eastern the way they are, 27% is a very significant figure. But what we know, it's close to 40%. So if we get down to empirical data that exists on the ground, it must be very empirical so that then we have enough justification to discuss them here. And I am saying, with due respect to democracy, yes, opinion polls can prevail.
Yes.
For people to see and people to make their own judgments. But through serious channels like this one,
thank you,
I would really restrain myself from trying to convince Kenyans that we go by the opinion polls and the pollsters, because somebody will, Infotrack will come one day, one morning, and tell us that somebody is at 55% when it's not true. Mucheru the other day is telling us there's a figure of 64%. Right. That is not true. Okay. It's not in keeping with what you want to promote during this time for democracy.
Thank you.
Let the presidential candidates...
It's good to make also a comparative analysis. I agree with you. We can try and see what this survey has, or this particular polls that we do have currently in comparison to Infotrack and TIFA as well. Do they border on the same margin, or there is such a discernible difference, diametrically different from one polls to another, so that we can get a sense of who is telling what, or whether we should actually put our trust and peg also our understanding of the polls, that their veracity, their efficacy also is what we can hold on to make informed decisions going forward when we are trying to, of course, cast that ballot at the end of the day. We're going to take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with more. Gladys Australia has not checked in yet. I think she slept through the alarm. I'll try and call her and see if she can actually check in, but I doubt. If it's 7 o'clock, she's normally early. Something must have really happened this morning. All right, we take that